And every Monday night, we try to bring to you guys a new topic, which remember, hey, Matthias, we try to keep this geared towards our team, and it's way to offer some education and just some different ways of learning, which I feel like Zooms are an excellent way that we can just kind of, when you can make it, great, but note that every Monday night it is usually the same link. And I also send out reminder texts, so if you want to be added to that remind list, feel free to shoot me a message and I'll add you to that so you don't forget. So, but I do encourage you to set an alarm because these are easy to forget. So 8:30, I said it's getting darker and it can be harder to stay awake. So set your alarms for 8:25 so you're ready to go for our Zooms each week. So, all right, guys. Well, our topic tonight is, I always feel like we try to pick things that can really relate to a lot of people. And I definitely would say that this is a topic that will relate to almost every single one of us at some point in our life. So digestive health and at least one of the symptoms that tend to come from digestive issues, whether it's, gas, bloating, diarrhea, arthritis, different even inflammatory type conditions that all stem from oftentimes gut health. And that's why this is just one of those things that I think we all need to concentrate on how we can build a better gut and how we can continue to improve the health of our gut. And it's kind of interesting as you're maybe reading some of these things on my screen here, which, hey, Judy, hopefully you guys can all see my screen. So Judy, you're the only one I can see at this moment. Can you see my screen? Okay, good. All right, perfect. Just making sure I forgot to ask. Yeah, so, but one of the things that's very interesting that not too many people know, thanks, Jackie, that, our gut health actually, 95% of the bacteria that comes from our gut health actually affects our serotonin levels. So I don't know if you've heard this before, but your gut is actually considered your second brain. So there is so much complexity in so many different areas of our body, but our gut is another one of those areas that there's always so much going on. And when there's an imbalance of several things, you can definitely notice symptoms that start to occur from that. And if you look at just some of the things listed here that have been linked to bacterial imbalance, depression, arthritis, IBS, cancer, those aren't the things generally you think about when you hear of somebody having gut health issues. We think of, maybe you've heard of, diverticulosis or irritable bowel syndrome. Yes, those are definitely related, but your symptoms can be so random from something coming from gut health. So the more that we can learn how to naturally make sure that we are building and we know what to do, the better we can affect our health long term. And that's what our goals should be with everything we're doing. And if you've never heard this before either, with cold and flu season coming, this is always important to note that 60 to 80% of our immune system is actually in our gut. So the more that we can keep putting in the good and decreasing the bad, that's only going to help us to prevent from getting sick more often. And microbiome is a really hot topic right now. If you've heard of microbiome, people have been talking about that, and they've actually found that it can affect our health here, which I'll show you this picture here real fast. It can actually affect our health as much as genetics can. And if you think about that, that's pretty crazy. So what we do for our gut health, it is unbelievable of how much we can do in prevention and helping to reverse some of this. But the more that we are harming our gut health, that also goes to affect organs like your liver, for example. So when your bad bacteria continues to grow, it can actually affect also the toxins that are then going into your liver. If you ever heard of leaky gut syndrome, how it can actually affect your stomach lining. So we really need to look at this as an actual entire body focus when we're looking at gut health. So I skipped that last one here real quick, but some of the other digestive type things that we oftentimes, again, are not quite sure what we can use besides over-the-counter things. Acid reflux, heartburn, indigestion, some of these things we're going to talk about here tonight, but these are all very relatable conditions for many of us. So we want to continue just to learn of what we can do to help to increase, like I keep saying here, of trying to get the body to function better by watching many of the things that we have control over of, such as our diet, supplementation, and also some of our environmental concerns. So one of the things that really is, I don't think talked about enough either, that reduces a lot of our good bacteria is actually using antibacterial products like sanitizer, which right coming up here. That's always a big push for people, is to use hand sanitizer. But if you actually over sanitize, that there's no distinction between good and bacteria when you use an antibacterial type product. So realistically, you are way better off to go in and just use soap and wash your hands. So, there's nothing wrong with playing in dirt and being around germs. And, if we are constantly over cleaning, again, that can also break down your immune system. So just being, again, cautious of that as we're getting into cold and flu season. So, and this is just, kind of mentioning a little bit more about your gut microbiome and how many things have now been linked to, chronic diseases linked to your microbiome. So if you look at some of these, again, symptoms on here, even things like having a C-section. If you were born by C-section, they're finding that that can affect your microbiome and your gut health long-term. If you just, look at just some of these things here, sleeping, a lot of your medications, not, breastfeeding, if you weren't breastfed, if you have more allergy concerns, these are all things that could definitely be related to gut health. So I think that, again, the wide variety of diseases and risk factors that come from not having good bacteria in our body is unbelievable. So, 99%, that's a high statistic, guys, but if you Google that, it's actually true that 99% of people do not eat enough vegetables every single day. So that is one of the main ways that we can continue to build actually good gut health, is getting in a lot of fruits and vegetables especially. We want to try to think of everything we're putting in our body as being God-made versus man-made. So look at using whole real products. We're a big fan of smoothies, which we'll be mentioning. The Life Shake here is a great source of getting in, more good protein and fiber. And, fiber is one of those things too that, the average American should have at least 25 grams of fiber a day. And they say that the average American actually gets about 15. So if you are constantly not getting enough fiber, that means that generally you're going to be having things like constipation. You're going to have toxins backing up in your system if you're not getting out what you should be. So increasing fiber is very important. So, if you suffer from things like, pain, inflammation, that's a big one, that a lot of times it can often be because your food is not breaking down and it causes it to back up in the body. So gas, for example, that's a lot of times what's happening. So fiber can help to reduce some of that. So the more fiber we can get in, the better. And, if you look at too, for example, a good source of fiber is something like an apple. If you want to compare, an apple has about 3 grams of fiber in that. So if you have to get 25 grams of fiber in a day, that's a whole lot of apples you have to eat. So that's why we a lot of times need to maybe be looking at higher fiber type options that we can incorporate into our diet to help making sure that, we can increase the amount of symptoms you may be getting from constipation, what I mentioned, indigestion, and those types of things. So these are foods that we really need to do our best to have in very, very little tiny quantities in moderation. So foods that damage the digestive system, anything that is highly processed, you've probably heard this before, it's not a surprise, but food colorings, medications, fried foods, the hydrogenated type foods, any of those can definitely be playing a part in causing your digestive system to start to get more and more sluggish. So, over time, it might not be immediate that you notice the symptoms that start to get worse. But as you continue over time, suddenly you start having these just random things that, heartburn or acid reflux, you would never relate it to your gut health. So this was just one story I wanted to share that I thought, I actually have a couple of them tonight, but this was a really good one of, her name is Stacy, and she's pretty active in Shaklee, but she started specifically with Shaklee because of her digestive problems. And one of the things that I found to be very fascinating with her story is that she actually just added, which we're going to talk about probiotics here in a second, but she only added the DI into her regimen, kept her diet the same, and she actually lost 20 pounds. And I just think that that is unbelievable just by the one change of adding a probiotic. We're not even talking about anything else you see here, but just by adding a probiotic. So, if your gut is not functioning properly, like I keep saying, you might not be aware of what the side effects could be. Could be weight gain. It could be acne. It could be depression. It could be, mood disorders. But we really need to continue to find ways that we can get our bodies to optimally function. So this is going to be the thing that, she is really, avid on talking about. This is the DI. So this is going to be one option of a great way to be guaranteed the live bacteria. And that's what's really important to note. If you listen to Stacy's testimonial, actually, she said she was taking a probiotic that her doctor had recommended and didn't notice anything, and basically quit and got very frustrated, and ended up getting on several antidepressants because she just couldn't get anything under control. But she learned after doing a lot of research the importance of understanding that a high amount of a nutrient doesn't mean it's getting where it needs to be actually distributed through your body. So understanding processing of supplements is key. So when we talk about Shaklee, it's not because, we're just trying to sell a product. It's because we know there's clinical studies that actually validate this is getting where it needs to be delivered at the right time. And this is actually going to be in the bottom of the colon, which this DI product actually has 4 different strains of bacteria. So it's a little bit more complex. So sometimes people that have really, really severe digestive problems, this can be too much at first, believe it or not. I've had people say they have to back off from this because, it's really hitting the digestive system very hard. So, but again, it has an immunity component to it. So I want to make sure we definitely mention that again with cold and flu season coming up here. But we talk about studies. This was, just one that was done by Michael Pollan, who he did a study of 14 probiotics. And this is kind of interesting that of 14 over-the-counter probiotics, only one contained the live bacteria that was stated on the label. So when we're saying that, these supposedly things are listed, it doesn't mean anything unless, again, you have those studies validating that. So again, just very important to highlight that. So this is another option for a great probiotic. And again, there are several different options for looking at, what does that live probiotic do? This is actually helping to suppress the bad bacteria as it continues to build the good. So this little pearl is really small, which is great because this is easy to give to kids also. But this little tiny thing has this triple encapsulation process, which makes this very, very unique. But this only has 2 strains in it, but this one is a lot more common. Most people have heard of the 2 strands that are in here, which is Acidophilus and Bifidus. So those are kind of your 2 more common ones. But a lot of people, when they talk about probiotics, they talk about really, really high numbers. Like, these have 500 million, and you talk to some people and they'll say, oh, well, mine has, 600 billion. And you're like, oh, well, that sounds a whole lot better. But again, it doesn't mean it's actually being delivered. So that's important to note that it's proven. And again, we could tell you so many testimonials from people adding probiotics into their diet. But realistically, this is something that I believe nowadays almost everybody needs to be on a good probiotic because of, again, the food. Definitely the nutrition is not as high anymore. And like I said earlier, 99% of people don't eat enough vegetables. So if you're not getting those good nutrients to help with keeping everything working inside, you need to look at adding a supplement of a probiotic. So, and another thing we want to mention here really quickly too is, I was saying earlier, constipation and how that really leads to a lot of toxicity in the body, and that will directly affect your gut health. So, I don't know if you've ever heard this before, and it's, your liver is your organ that absorbs all the toxins inside your body. So if your liver can't filter out things properly, that is what happens when you get constipated. It actually causes the stomach lining inside the gut to create a fluid around, which is leaky gut syndrome. So when we get leaky gut syndrome, those toxins continue to fill up inside your body, and you actually have an increased risk for colon cancer. You can have many symptoms that are directly related to, overgrowth of yeast, all these things just starting to link from being constipated. So we mentioned this product because this is one that is a guaranteed way to help act as a way to, this is one that I say even just keep it in your medicine cabinet. You might not have to use it every day, but even if you do it once a week or use it occasionally, this was an original Dr. Shaklee formula that in 1930, I believe, was when this one came out, but it really has a lot of properties to detoxify. So, even just taking one of these occasionally, great. But if you notice you're traveling, your diet's off, you notice that, this will help to clean your intestines. So anytime that you're just kind of wondering if you should take this, go for it. It's not going to hurt you, but it will definitely help to make sure that your intestines are continuously working how it should be. So another thing to mention here is stomach soothing complex, which, this is, again, when you think of digestive health, a lot of times when you have digestive health, you're in pain, right? You get gassy, it's not comfortable. So having something that you can quickly notice results from, that's what this is. So this is something that is designed to help with immediate digestive health. So you can use it occasionally. It's a great one for unfortunately, if anybody gets the stomach flu coming up, keep this on hand and take it, okay? First sign of the stomach flu, take it, because it will help the symptoms and it might help to decrease, the continuation of that stomach flu from continuing to get worse. So it's really got, peppermint, ginger, all the things that are known for helping with easing, nauseousness. So even car sickness, those types of things too. But specifically for gut health, irritable bowel is another one that when you have a lot of inflammation in there, again, if you ever talk to somebody that has irritable bowel, it's very uncomfortable. So this can calm. So this will be another great option that is, again, clinically proven, along with EasyGest. Now, EasyGest, this is a great thing to just really quickly, I'm going to make sure I stay on time here, but when you look at your products that tend to create, like for heartburn or any type of antacid that people use to help keep the acid down, it's important to note that your stomach is supposed to have acid in it. The problem is when that acid backs up, that all of a sudden you're noticing, the acid reflux and the heartburn symptoms starting to increase. And that's generally because of a sphincter issue. It's not necessarily by taking an over-counter medication. That will actually, over time, do more harm because it's blocking all the acid and decreasing the amount of acid your stomach is producing. So anytime you're taking those long-term, be very, very cautious. Those Prilosec is recommended. That's a very popular one, but it's not actually doing the body any good because it's not fixing the problem. It's just masking it by keeping the acid pushed down, which again, you need it to be circulating into your stomach. So figuring out what food could be triggering it, taking EasyGest before meals can oftentimes really be a way to calm down the amount of acid that comes up. So if you struggle from acid reflux or heartburn, take this before a meal because it could definitely be related to a food that is causing that. So taking this before a meal, this helps to break down naturally using digestive enzymes, helps to break down the food. So again, just a really important topic there talking about EasyGest. So just one more testimony real fast. And a lot of you guys that are, familiar with Shaklee, Katie Onum has been, she's been in Shaklee for several years now. And she has just, again, another amazing testimonial of how when she cut down a lot of her inflammatory foods, she now has to be completely gluten-free. She will tell you how she lives off from, the Life Shakes. That is her morning ritual every single day. That since she has done that, just the amount of weight she has lost, but it's more the inflammation and how she feels. And these are, kind of some of the foods that she's had to work on, eliminating. If you look at what foods cause inflammation, we talked about the processed foods, but here's kind of a list of, your gluten, your different oils, processed meats, fried foods, fast foods, soft drinks, meat and dairy are more of your inflammation type foods that will, again, also play a big part in what's happening digestive wise. So if you can start to, eliminate inflammation by increasing the good and get out the bad, again, it is amazing the results you will find. And she is, again, a huge advocate of talking about probiotics and making sure that you use the right nutrients to help with building good health. So, all right, guys, well, just to kind of almost get to recapping here real fast, this is the 7-day cleanse, which really, if you're looking for really getting a quick jump start for, I know a lot of us on here have done the 7-day cleanse. We really recommend you to take a look at that and using, a lot of those products are in the 7-day cleanse that we were talking about. And here's just kind of a great summary of trying to get your program very simplified, starting with your Vitalizer strip, has all your vitamins, has your probiotic in there, and continue to add as needed. So remember, everybody's going to be a little bit different in how their body is, reacting to how they're doing. If you're starting to feel like, you need help with the breaking down of foods like we talked about, maybe you would add EasyGest or getting another probiotic in there. If you're, needing more than what's in the Vitalizer, or you need the other probiotic, which is the DI, you can take these in conglomeration, definitely the DI and the Pearl. It's not going to do any harm. It actually provides totally different strains. And that's the great thing too. When you're using nature, you don't have to worry about combining products and having side effects. So, all right, guys, let me open it up here because I know we only have 1 minute and I just got a couple messages that a few people got kicked out. So hopefully you guys can all still hear me, but does anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to add here before we end here? And I always like to hear too if it was helpful. So anybody have anything here? Don't forget to unmute yourself. All right, I'll take it. Nobody has any questions.
Hey, Amanda, it's Chris. So quick question. I don't remember the, wasn't it the drug, is it Zantac that CVS and Walmart and everybody else started pulling from the shelves because of potential cancer-causing ingredients?
They did, yes. And there's a whole bunch of them, actually, Chris. If you start Googling a lot of these, it's pretty crazy. And actually a lot of them have been on the market for years before they find this. And that's one of them. That's been around for quite a while that, yeah, they did pull that. But I think that is actually used more for an
Is it acid?
Is it?
I'm sorry, for what?
I was thinking that was used more as an antidepressant. I don't know if that was for...
No, that's anti-acid.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
Something different.
Yeah, and that's that's very recent. They just did that, and it was announced last week.
Huh. Good to hear, or good to know. I know I heard something about it, but I didn't really look into it too much. But yeah, very important to note that. So yeah, and it's very surprising how many people are on something for,
acid reflux or digestive. Yeah, right, exactly. So I guess it's just one more thing, right, Karen, that speaks to the Shaklee alternative as opposed to all these prescriptions that
Oh, absolutely.
are going to get you sooner or later.
Yes, sir.
You got it. And the cost. I just had somebody tell me that they were on a medication, which I won't say in case somebody knows that, but they're on a medication for years and suddenly they quit making it. And so he had to go to a different version of it. And it was going to cost him $1,200 a month. I was like, whew. So not even just the side effects, but the cost. That's another big issue with meds. So yeah, pretty crazy. But all right, guys. Well, we will transition into business training. So you guys who want to hang on, great. Those of you that need to go, feel free to. But thanks for taking the time to join us, guys. Hopefully it was helpful and you learned a few things. And you ever have a topic, please, we want to know about it. So let us know if you have something you want to address. So thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thanks. See you later, Judy. Take care. All right. Okay, guys, we are switching gears here a second. I'm going to start, guys, with a bunch of dates of things, but I would love, we have, a pretty small group tonight, which this is great. So I think this will be helpful. Usually I do a whole lot of talking, but I would love to hear from you guys a little bit tonight. So I want you to think about this, and then I'm going to get into some dates of things. So I would love for you to think about right now where you're at. What is the number one thing that you're struggling with? Now, some of you guys are brand new, so I don't expect you to answer, and I'll just open it up if anybody is willing to share. If you can think of the number one thing that you're struggling with, and I would just love to have maybe a few of you mention a couple suggestions. We don't need to spend 20 minutes on each person, right? Because we only have 20 minutes. So just be really quick and brief. But I just really want to make sure that, as things pop up and you start to develop some questions, and maybe you guys are newer too, maybe it's not something you're struggling with yet. Maybe it's just a question you have. So we'll open it up to you guys. So start thinking about that. And again, I want you guys to, really feel comfortable if this is just amongst our team. And that's why it's nice that, we keep this a small group and we kind of expect that whatever's shared, we're going to keep it amongst us here. So, but just to kind of mention some dates of things here, guys, I'll go back to the first one here real quick. Next, 2 weeks from now on our Monday night Zoom, we are going to have, if you're not familiar with Robbie Carter, he is new with Shaklee. He actually came from Beachbody. But he is now one of the Shaklee business development managers, and he's going to join us for our team Zoom and just talk about some, a little bit about him and just talking about mindset. And I asked him just to share maybe some information and business tips. So, and he'll answer Q&A too. But I thought he'd be he's really enthusiastic and very motivational. So I thought he'd be perfect to bring on, and he was willing to do it. So make sure you guys are on the 28th. So he will be our guest. And also a couple dates, smoothies we have coming up this Sunday, October 13th. So you guys are local, feel free to invite. It's always a popular event that, freezer smoothie meals are awesome to have in, a convenient way for people that need grab and go options. And you guys that are, not around here too, if you have any recipes or you're just looking for some suggestions, please reach out, guys. We have just, so many tools and resources that you're never bothering us if, you just have a question or you're looking for something. I always love to help. So please let us know if somehow you want to even do your own smoothie workshop, or like I said, get some recipes. So a quick shout out, because we've had a few people that sponsored 3 Prove It Challenge people last month, brand new. So Shaklee is basically giving different perks. If you sponsor 3 in 1 month, yes, you get the added bonus, which I think you guys all know. For 3 in 1 month, you get $150 bonus total. So that's a great reason to keep sharing. Obviously, that's not our only reason. It's more to obviously affect people's health, but they're also giving away things. If you do sponsor 3 in a month, they're going to keep offering different incentives, which is kind of cool. So if you did 3 last month, they're putting you into a club that if you can continue 3 through December, I'm not quite sure what they're rewarding, but I know several people from our team earned it. So Sarah, Tara, there was a Renee. So it's pretty exciting that, some of us are definitely making some of these challenges happen. But even for October, you guys get 3. They said there's going to be some special awards for this month too if you get 3 this month. So keep sharing the Prove It Challenge, guys. Great way to get people started. And that may be one of your questions too, because I just had somebody say to me earlier, cost is a big one with the Prove It Challenge. How do you break that down to someone? So if that's your question, feel free to ask that and we will address that. Another date, Thriving in 30, we're going to do here on Monday, October 21st. So we'll still plan on a Zoom at 8:30 that night, some type of topic, but that will be live here. So we're going to, just talk about different ways of improving health, still incorporating the Prove It Challenge, 30 days, giving ideas, tips, sharing some whole food recipes, that type of focus. So that is here. And then our next team meeting, I think we're actually going to wait until November. So I'm thinking that first Monday in November, we're going to look at for our next team meeting. So feel free to let me know if that works for you in advance. So, all right, guys, let's go ahead and I'm going to open up to you guys here. So I'm hoping everybody will cooperate. And if you don't want to just ask it live, feel free to text it. I'm going to check my phone here too. So feel free to text me. I won't say who you are if you have a question. But all right, guys, anybody who's want to start out here and maybe ask something or open it up for us? Maybe you're not struggling. Maybe you're just really happy and you want to share something. So go for it. You guys are going to make me pick on you, aren't you? Oh, I see Stacy. Good job, Stacy. All right.
You never know when the video actually comes on what you're gonna see. So
way to go.
yeah, sitting in the dark here. No, I guess it's just something that's always been the same, is just we've talked about it so many times. I don't really get out. So for me, it's meeting people. And I know that it's been suggested to join different groups and stuff, but I don't necessarily want to fill my days just trying to join groups just to try to find new people to talk to. So it's just a constant struggle to say, where am I going to come up with the new ideas, new people?
I think that's a common one with many people. So I'm going to open it up to anybody else if you guys want to share some ideas first. Anybody have any suggestions for Stacy?
So Stacy, what is a day where you get out? Are you out of the house at all during the week, or?
You mean on a normal basis?
Well, any day.